Today we have some interesting God of War news as God of War creative director CoryBarlog comments on the lack of news for the upcoming sequel during PlayStation's State of Play event, and the situation may get the game delayed. We also have the Halo Infinite and Xbox news and also 2 Google Stadia highlights, and some information about the upcoming Elden Ring announcement and E3 event 2021. So before jumping into the topics, if you are new, subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon for knowing instant updates, more interesting and informative topics in the daily gaming world. Now let's jump in. Starting things off with God of War, as God of War director has message for fans expecting news. Ramping up the State of Play, I have been attempting to guess what would be revealed among the 10 games that Sony had indicated would be appearing, with titles like God of War Ragnarok leading the hype train. However, now that everything in the State of Play has been seen with no mentions of Santa Monica Studio, fans started frantically rushing to social media asking for any information on the upcoming title. Coming seemingly to the rescue of the fans once again, God of War director CoryBarlog has addressed the progress of development in a fairly cryptic manner. While there might not have been a new announcement for the highly anticipated sequel, it is still being worked on, and that it'll take some time before the developer is ready to more openly discuss it. In standard fashion for Barlog, the reassurance came in the form of a Big Lebowski GIF, or GIF, as the God of War developer prefers to pronounce the term. Along with the image came the words "when it's done," indicating that as much as everyone wants to see how progress is going, the next title isn't to a point to start building, showing off trailers and building the hype just yet. So, it might be a while before fans get a chance to see much of what Santa Monica Studio has planned, let alone get hands-on with the next game in the series. What adds fuel to such speculation is Jim Ryan's recently discussion on some of the upcoming first-party PS5 titles. This included titles that already have a release date, and the ones whose release windows are known. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart recently got a release date, and Ryan also seemingly confirmed that Horizon Forbidden West is still a 2021 title. However, this game was neglected. Amidst all the exciting updates that fans are getting alongside the latest State of Play event, God of War Ragnarok remains a no-show. One prominent reason, perhaps, is that God of War Ragnarok was revealed way too early. Sony's PlayStation 5 event was undoubtedly a way to allure fans towards the next generation of gaming, and what bigger way to excite longtime PlayStation by a logo reveal of the sequel to one of its biggest franchises. Of course, reveal could be too strong of a word, as it was just a tease, nothing more, nothing less. While the 2021 release window may or may not have been a placeholder from Sony's side, there is enough evidence which indicates that God of War Ragnarok's 2021 release is highly unlikely. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has affected everything and everyone in the last year. The games industry is no different, and working from home has made the development process more complex and time-consuming. As such, more and more titles are getting delayed. Sony's first-party games such as Returnal and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart have already been delayed out of their initial windows, or at least, seemingly so. God of War was released in 2018, which means God of War Ragnarok could have been in development for over 2.5 years at this time. Even if it was in sequel development simultaneously, that wouldn't add much to it. The 2018 reboot of God of War took over 5 years to develop, as was revealed in the God of War documentary that followed the game's release. Although the game's director CoryBarlog had revealed that a sequel won't take as much time to develop as the first game, that doesn't mean less than half that time either. Despite being developed on the same game engine as its original, such a small amount of time wouldn't be sufficient to ship a AAA game, especially in the current work-from-home scenario. Like mentioned before, the ongoing pandemic has affected everything and everyone around, and the PlayStation 5 is no different. There has been an immense scarcity of both PS5 and Xbox Series X since its release, making the first year of the 9th generation of consoles a bit tricky. Sony has cited the lack of semiconductors as a prominent reason that's preventing it from making more PS5 consoles. Although US President Joe Biden has agreed to investigate this PS5 and Xbox Series X component, this problem might not be solved anytime soon. God of War Ragnarok is, at this point, likely to be a PS5 exclusive title. While there are possibilities that it might be a cross-generational title like Horizon Forbidden West, there are plenty of reasons to believe that God of War Ragnarok might not come to the PS4. The most prominent of them is that big titles such as these are perfect system sellers. It's no doubt that 2018's God of War, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, and Marvel's Spider-Man are some of the best-selling games of the last gen that also moved a lot of consoles alongside their releases. As such, releasing God of War Ragnarok on the PS4 doesn't make sense from a business point of view. Unfortunately, given how PS5 is still far from being properly available across the globe, it would make sense if Sony pushes its most anticipated next-gen title to a release window where more people would have access to it. In addition to reminding fans that it's best for everybody if they wait and get things ready in proper time, Barlog also continued an ongoing theme from many of the director's recent tweets. Not only is the developer not ready to talk about the game, but Barlog doesn't even acknowledge its existence, often claiming to have never heard of God of War Ragnarok or any sequel to a game made by Santa Monica Studio. It's been an entertaining trend for fans, with some thinking that it might be the director's way of skirting around the fact that the Ragnarok name is more of a placeholder than a set-in-stone title. With a title this highly anticipated, working off of the Thor reveal in the previous God of War, it could be easy for the game to announce itself too early and leave fans waiting for a long time. Leaving things unexposed for now means no delays, no rushing, and hopefully a game as polished as its predecessor eventually hitting store shelves. Up next we have the Halo Infinite news, as in its latest Inside Infinite update, 343 Industries reveals new info alongside new screenshots for its upcoming Halo Infinite, with developer 343 Industries teases Halo fans with new story leading up to Halo Infinite via an audio log found in a recent blog post. Similar to God of War being the trademark franchise of PlayStation, Halo is the trademark franchise of Xbox. In its latest Inside Infinite monthly update, developer 343 Industries provided more insight into how the studio is bringing Zeta Halo to life in Halo Infinite. Aside from revealing tidbits on the artistic vision behind the game's world, the team also released a bunch of new 4K screenshots from the PC build of the game. Since its underwhelming reveal last year, 343 Industries has been tirelessly working on Halo Infinite to make it the best possible Halo experience for its fans. As such, the studio has taken to monthly updates that delve deep into how the game's development is progressing and what fans should look forward to when Halo Infinite launches this fall. February's Inside Infinite revealed interviews from the game's lead environment artist, gameplay director, and world design lead, each of which sheds light on the studio's vision for the game's premise, the Zeta Halo, which is the last of the 12 Halo rings still intact. To meet the artistic goals of Installation 07 and the foliage surrounding it, the art team focused on two themes, legacy and simplicity. To back up their statements, the team also revealed a bunch of new high-quality screenshots, which looks like a huge improvement from the game's initial reveal last year. The screenshots give a sneak peek of how massive and breathtaking Halo Infinite's world is shaping up to be. Justin Dingas, the game's campaign art lead, also explained how Zeta Halo is a character of its own. Even more so than previous Halo titles, the world of Halo Infinite, as it seems, would be brimming with environmental cues that could make exploration immensely rewarding. Add to that a vast array of new equipment such as the grapple shot, and the freedom to approach every scenario differently, Halo Infinite seems to be truly embracing the sandbox nature of its forefathers. Halo fans have been waiting for 343 Industries to continue the series story. Halo 5 Guardians ended on a cliffhanger, so Halo Infinite will be necessary to experience the full story that 343 started in 2012 with Halo 4. The extra delay of Halo Infinite in 2020 hurt, but it seems 343 Industries isn't without its sympathies. In the latest development update for Halo Infinite, 343 slipped in something for fans who are anxiously awaiting the return of Master Chief. An audio file also has been found attached to a phrase in 343's latest development blog. The text of the link reads "Stories to be found," hidden within a response from Halo Infinite's world design lead John Mulkey. The response is intriguing, as it has to do with 343 pursuing a spiritual reboot with Halo Infinite. Mulkey's answer is that Halo Infinite is intended to deliver on the promise of the original Halo, if it had the technology 343 does today. The audio log contains a conversation between Dr. Halsey, the creator of the Spartan 2 program that led to Master Chief, one of her attendants, or at least someone tuned into the ongoing conflict between Cortana and the United Earth government, and later Master Chief himself. The dialogue appears to come soon after Halo 5's unlockable scene when beating the game on legendary difficulty. The scene shows Master Chief arriving on the planet Sangelios and meeting with Halsey. To summarize the audio log, it begins with Halsey and her attendant discussing Cortana's current attack on the UEG. They mention 16 systems being shut down, seemingly at random, and the futility of trying to stop her. Master Chief then enters the conversation, asking what the plan is. Halsey describes how Cortana is persuading sentient AI across the galaxy to side with her, and that humanity is in survival mode. Halsey then says they may not be uniting against Master Chief, however. The implication of Halsey's words is clear. She perhaps believes Master Chief has an opportunity to stop the AI attack due to his relationship with Cortana. How that opportunity will manifest will likely come together in Halo Infinite, unless 343 has some more audio logs to share. Regardless of how this fits into Halo Infinite story-wise, it is an exciting way for 343 to share more about its upcoming game, despite it being months away from launch. I will be watching 343's development blogs for more details from here on, or at least so long as the developer continues to offer teasers. As such, Halo Infinite is shaping up to be an ambitious successor to Halo Combat Evolved. While the initial reveal may have been critical, it seems 343 Industries has been taking its time to polish the game's various attributes, and the screenshots seem to represent just that. While the game still doesn't have a concrete release date as of yet, the dev talks seem to indicate that Halo Infinite is nearing its final stage of development. However, given how the ongoing pandemic has delayed so many AAA games this year, it wouldn't be surprising if Halo Infinite undergoes another delay. Cyberpunk 2077's underwhelming launch is a stark example of how rushed releases could lead to inconsistent and unpolished day one experience, and given how 343 Industries is working to ship a massive title such as this, that too on 4 different platforms, it's no doubt that the team might just need a little more time. Elden Ring, here we go again. A recently shared report claims with confidence that From Software's long-awaited RPG Elden Ring is going to be showcased soon. You may call this fake or clickbait or something rude. But getting some hope through reports and rumors from reliable and credible sources are way better than without getting a single update for 3 long years. Okay, now getting into the topic. Elden Ring fans are torturing themselves over when an official update from Software will next arrive. Each event that passes without word of Elden Ring's development seems to add to their despair. Yet the dark times may be ending soon, if a recent report is to be believed. Elden Ring may be showcased at an upcoming unannounced event. Even better, that event appears to be currently planned for March. The news comes from GamesBeat's Jeff Grubb, who has been a reliable source for Elden Ring fans for some time. At the very least, he's confirmed that Elden Ring won't be shown at many of the past year's events. Grubb says in the latest episode of GB Decides that he's confident that Elden Ring will be shown in March. He doesn't provide a specific date, which he says is because he hasn't heard one. But he says he does trust his sources on the matter. Grubb does add one caveat, however. He does say that there's a chance that Elden Ring's next showcase could get pushed to April rather than March. Grubb doesn't cite any specific reason why this could happen, but rather says it acknowledging that delays happen. That's especially true in the middle of a pandemic. He also says that there's a chance that it may happen, as last-minute cancellations do happen in the gaming industry. That said, he remains confident in a March event at this time. As for what event Elden Ring could make an appearance at, it's a grand mystery. The big event of March is the GDC showcase, running from March 15th to 19th, but announcements are rarely made during GDC. The London Games Festival 2021 starts in Mach 19, and does tease some new games, but is very likely too small of an event for something like Elden Ring. There is one other rumored event for March that may be just right, however. That event is a Microsoft showcase. Unconfirmed details for the event include a date of March 23rd, an update regarding the ongoing Bethesda acquisition, and now the possibility of an Elden Ring teaser or reveal. Obviously, take these rumors with skepticism until they're officially confirmed. Elden Ring and From Software fans have waited this long, so waiting another month or so is likely not going to stymie their excitement. Still, if this report turns out to not be true either, there are going to be a lot of very broken-hearted video game fans out there. Speaking of Xbox event, right off the heels of Sony's PlayStation State of Play and the recent Nintendo Direct, Xbox may be planning a gaming event to announce new content. A week ago, Nintendo held its first Nintendo Direct in about a year and a half. Then Sony wrapped up its first PlayStation State of Play of the year just a few days ago. Now it may be Xbox's turn for a big game reveal show. There have been plenty of rumors about what, where, and when the next Xbox event will take place. While there is still a lot of excitement around the Xbox Series X launch, it seems like a good time to let fans know what they can expect moving forward. According to the leaked information, so take this with a grain of salt for now, Microsoft is holding a What's New for Gaming event on March 23, 2021. The lack of detailed info and somewhat ambiguous name leaves room for imagination as to what sort of event this could be. There may also be a What's New for Windows event that will follow this Xbox event, so it could be the proceedings are less about game announcements and more along the lines of broad-scale planning for the industry, like where Xbox may eventually go with cloud gaming. But the event could also certainly be a games reveal showcase, which is something that fans are clamoring for. With 2020 being quite the odd year in terms of standard physical or digital game reveal events, Xbox dominated the news at various points with massive news drops like the Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda. But other aspects of the year seem to have been won by Nintendo with the success of Animal Crossing, New Horizons and the Switch or the head-to-head bouts with PlayStation as it and Xbox both released their next-generation consoles. If this What's New for Gaming event is real and Xbox has the opportunity to follow up Nintendo and PlayStation with some big hitting announcements, that could be big. There are many places that an event like this could go for Xbox. It is possible that Bethesda reveals a new game, or that Starfield is shown off and announced to officially be an Xbox exclusive or timed exclusive. Microsoft is rumored to still be wheeling and dealing, so perhaps other acquisitions could be announced as well. Meanwhile, there are also many Xbox exclusives that deserve updates like the Halo Infinite, Avowed, the new Fable, State of Decay 3, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2 and more. For now, the information is far from confirmed. But even if the March 23rd date is not accurate, one would expect that Xbox would put forth a digital event at some point to show the goods for 2021 and beyond. We nave another Xbox-related news also as leaked images appear to confirm that Microsoft is beginning to test a 1080p resolution for its Xcloud game streaming service. The greatest strength of Microsoft's current gaming strategy is the effort that's gone into synergy. The interconnectivity between Xbox platforms and services is unparalleled in the industry. The Xbox Game Pass and Xcloud game services, in particular, are growing rapidly. As such, it makes sense that Microsoft is continuing to focus on improving those services over time. The latest example to be announced is a plan to upgrade Xcloud to begin delivering 1080p game streaming. Windows Central reports that an unnamed game developer recently sent over a screen cap of Hellblade running over Xcloud. The screenshot featured information provided to developers via the service. For example, it lists bandwidth, round-trip time and jitter, so developers can account for the stability of their streaming connection when evaluating the state of the game. The last bit of information available via the tool is resolution, which is listed as 1920x 1080. This is notable because up until now the Xcloud service has been restricting game streaming to just 720p. Given that a significant majority of televisions, monitors, and even smartphone screens are 1080p or above, a 720p limit is understandably a negative for the Xcloud brand. It's also understandable, as a lower resolution means that Xcloud is able to deliver a smoother and more consistent streaming experience. For a new service, establishing a reliable technological foundation is perhaps more important than even key features. It appears that Microsoft is confident to a degree that it's ready to start experimenting with improving the resolution of Xcloud to 1080p. That doesn't mean that 1080p will be going live for consumers soon or even at all, but it's the start of that process. Barring any major issues coming up, Microsoft could be unlocking 1080p for Xcloud within months. 2021 would be a reasonable conclusion. One reason for the movement toward 1080p support in Xcloud is Microsoft's confirmed shift from Xbox One server architecture to Xbox Series X. The shift was announced to take place over the year, so it makes sense that testing for the technology would be starting now. The Xbox Series X architecture would be able to support higher resolutions much more easily than the Xbox One. While Microsoft is clearly prioritizing only stepping up to 1080p when it's ready, it's also no secret that Xcloud is behind its competitors here. Google Stadia, Amazon Luna, GeForce Now, and others all support 1080p resolution streaming already. Microsoft may be doing the right thing for the Xcloud service long-term, but that doesn't mean it isn't looking at the short-term. The sooner polished 1080p Xcloud streaming arrives, the better for Xcloud. Xcloud is currently available on Android devices, with PC and iOS support planned in 2021 and a 1080p support soon. Before jumping into the final topics, I want to share some news about the E3 event in 2021. According to documents from the city of Los Angeles, the physical portion of the E3 2021 event appears to have been cancelled, leaving the reported digital event in its stead. Last year's E3 was cancelled due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and it looks like the live E3 2021 event has followed suit. All signs point to the Entertainment Software Association, ESA, putting together a digital E3 program this year, something in partnership with developers and publishers as it does with the standard event. The live event being cancelled this year, in light of the pandemic continuing and health and safety being on the forefront, makes sense. The ESA told Video Games Chronicle, VGC, that it will soon share exact details on how it's bringing the video game community together. For those who wonder what the future holds for the live program, documents obtained from the city of Los Angeles also show that LA is working with the ESA on a 2022 and 2023 license. This should indicate that the live event may return at some point in the future. It may still be a tough pill to swallow for many in the industry that the standard E3 event is cancelled again this year. It had become a mainstay event for so long that it is hard to not see the event taking place in early to mid-June. While digital formats can still push exciting announcements, the live aspect of E3 allows for a certain level of positivity and thrill that is seemingly impossible to replicate. Some of the best moments in E3 history are the roars of the crowd when Kratos came out of nowhere at E3 2016, which showcased a demo of one of my all-time favorites, God of War, and trailer like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess drops, the reveal of backward compatibility for the Xbox One, or the other reveals in the 2016 PlayStation conference. Even those who watch the online feed of a live show may feel that excitement from the crowd. For those who are lucky enough to attend the show, being able to play the games on the show floor is a big deal, as is entertaining countless interviews and seeing products up close. It seems as if the ESA will still be able to together a competent digital program at E3 2021, which is great because last year it did not have enough time to plan and canceled E3 2020 altogether. Apparently, there may be ways to play demos from home, which sounds intriguing. Even without the magic of a live event, the digital show could pull through and work out remarkably, but only time will tell whether that is the case. Now jumping into the final topic, as a new reveal suggests that a horror project by Hideo Kojima saw cancellation on Google Stadia before ever completely getting out the door. A new report suggests Google passed up on a Hideo Kojima horror title for Stadia. It looks like the tech giant was not interested in bringing Kojima's project to the cloud gaming service Stadia. Google made its first big foray into gaming when it released its streaming platform Stadia in 2019. It aimed to reach a wide audience by allowing gamers to play anywhere without needing hardware like a high-tier gaming PC or console. Hideo Kojima is a famous developer, designer, and producer in gaming with a portfolio of historic titles like Metal Gear. But it looks like even after Kojima left Konami and went independent, Google did not want to bring one of the most influential figures in Japanese gaming to Stadia. From the report, Kojima was working together with Google to potentially bring a horror title to the platform. Under Kojima Productions, the project would have been episodic in nature as well. However, the entire thing ended up getting cancelled after being blocked by Stadia GM Phil Harrison. This will have been surprising to those behind the scenes because apparently the Japanese studio took a lot of interest in working with cloud gaming. It is possible that followers of Hideo Kojima knew about this falling out before this official reveal. In summer 2020, Kojima did an interview with a Japanese publication where he brought up a major title cancellation. He expressed his anger in the interview, but stated that this result is always possible in the gaming industry. However, Kojima Productions did not provide any additional follow-up to this information. This is not the first time that Kojima will have faced resistance while trying to create games. Back in 2014, Kojima Productions developed the horror game PT, and released a demo for the PlayStation 4. However, Konami had the PT demo removed after cancelling the project. Even Kojima's most recent release, Death Stranding, faced critical backlash due to the unique but obscure gameplay. While the Metal Gear series is iconic and has a strong fanbase, it seems like Kojima has had some difficulty regaining a foothold after breaking with Konami. That said, this problem could relate to the current state of Stadia rather than Kojima himself. It is not easy to bring a new platform into the industry against PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo devices. Google Stadia is no exception and has struggled to become a major player. With Google scaling the service back, it could just be that the company was not willing to take more risks with a Kojima title. Unfortunately, fans will never know what the episodic horror game would have been, but can still look forward to whatever Kojima's next game will be. Maybe a Silent Hill or a Metal Gear Solid remake. And another report indicates that Google paid publishers like Ubisoft and take $20 million for Stadia ports of major games. New details regarding Google's efforts to launch and get its Stadia cloud gaming subscription service have been reported on this Friday. It's well known that Google went big from the very first day Stadia launched, advertising and offering a wide variety of AAA releases. What's now being reported is that Google spent astonishingly high costs to publishers to port their games to Stadia. And, as is now apparent, it hasn't worked out as Google had planned. A report from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier goes into detail regarding Google's strategies for Stadia. A big focus for Stadia, and ultimately one of the platform's biggest errors, was a focus on major AAA releases. Stadia partnered with Ubisoft and Bethesda to get games like Assassin's Creed and Doom. Stadia paid big for those games, too, paying tens of millions of dollars for games like Red Dead Redemption 2, as confirmed by two different sources familiar with the situation. The rest of Schreier's report goes on to explore other examples of Google trying to go very big very quickly. Perhaps the best example being its quick investment in internal game development. It mentions Google bringing in veteran studio lead Jade Raymond, who had been leading Ubisoft's Motive Studio, as an example of the kind of push Google was making. Of course, everyone now knows how that turned out. At the start of February, Google shut down all internal game development with no games launched. While it's difficult to say what Google could have done differently, Schreier does pose a different scenario on Twitter. He says that instead of giving $20 million to Ubisoft to bring Assassin's Creed and The Division 2 to Stadia, imagine if Google had paid $1 million to 20 small developers, betting that at least one of them will be a hit like Stardew Valley or Valheim. Obviously, that's not what happened, but it does frame what Google did do. The reality is that while Google's deals to get several AAA games on its platform likely led to a degree of success, it was never going to lead to a massive shift to the Stadia platform. Whereas an exclusive like Valheim, or a first-party game unavailable on other platforms could have driven a much larger wave of subscribers and users. Stadia isn't gone, of course, it's still available. It's also continuing to release exclusives, like the recently announced Pixel Junk Raiders. Perhaps Stadia is shifting direction going forward, or perhaps it's slowly winding down. It's a frustrating situation for Stadia users to be in, to be sure. And that's all for the video, guys. If you are interested in the topics, give it a like and share the video. Feel free comment your thoughts, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.